Gamers, it is true. It's finally happening. We are getting the long-awaited, the fabled 5-star selector for any of the 7 standard banner characters at the beginning of NATLAN 5.0. And I know that a lot of you guys are wondering, who are the best standard banner characters? Who should you choose? And homies, I got you and then some, okay? I'll tell you who the best standard banner characters are, all right? That's not gonna be a problem. But I'm also gonna go into all the key, strongest constellations for all of the 7 standard banner characters, and I'm gonna go over their best teammates on their most meta strongest teams, because maybe you've got those teammates and you want to choose one of these characters so that they start immediately popping off. Homies, I got you. That one's gonna be fire. Okay, let's go. Real quick, there's a few things I gotta get out of the way. First off, this event says it's available for a limited time during 5.0. So make sure you hop in during 5.0 and grab your 5-star. If you do end up missing this, watching this later, we are getting this event every single year, so don't fret too hard. You'll have another chance to pick one of these characters, all right? And then next, I always say, you should pick your favorite character. You should pick the character you love, the one you think is fun, the one you think is hot, whatever, all right? But of course, I will break it all down for you. I will tell you the best characters, all the cons, but I just always say, if Mona's your favorite character and you don't have her, homie, you should pick her. It's all about fun. And for my beginners out there who might be just starting Genshin Impact today, you've got none of these characters. I genuinely do say, pick which one you think is the coolest, pick your favorite, because none of these characters are gonna grief your account, and it's all about fun at the end of the day. But if I had to start right now and tell you who I think are the best characters on standard, I think 3 of them are pretty, far away from the pack. It's Tighnari, Keqing, and Jean. So legit, Tighnari is an extremely good DPS character still to this day, okay? He was in the first wave of Dendro characters that got released into the game. Dendro is an extremely good versatile element, and Tighnari is a high damage DPS. Now, do note, he is a charge attack based bow character, and a lot of people don't like the charge attack style, so make sure that you are ready for that. I'll give you that fair warning, but he is genuinely extremely strong. He is a part of some insane speedrun clears, even with all the characters as C6. Tighnari still makes it in there. This guy is extremely good, extremely cracked, and I think he is the best standard banner character. So next up is Keqing, and Keqing is an extremely good and fun, in my opinion, DPS character. Keqing wasn't always as good as she is now, though. With Sumeru coming out, we got Dendro. Dendro plus Electro makes aggravates, spreads. It's simple, easy, brain dead, and does a ton of damage. And Keqing is just an amazing abuser of Dendro plus Electro. She does a ton of damage really fast. She boosts her crit rate. She has no energy problems whatsoever. An extremely good DPS to this day, can absolutely clap the abyss. And I also will say that she's extremely good for exploration with her skill. You aim that, trivialize some puzzles, jump up some cliffs. Super fun, great character. I definitely recommend her if you like her. And now we've got Jean. Jean is not a main DPS carry like Keqing and Tighnari. Yeah, you can build her DPS, but it's not her best build. It's more just for fun, okay? Jean really shines as a team-wide healer and a support character because she is Animo. I'll show it right here. Viridescent Inventor. It's one of the best artifact sets in the entire game. You swirl with Pyro, you shred the Pyro res, now your Pyro teammates are popping off, okay? It's that simple that Animo characters always have this good utility because Vivi is that good. And then her burst is a massive team-wide instant burst heal, which is extremely useful in a lot of content on specific teams in the game that we'll talk about. Jean is a great overall support pick and not a bad pick at all. Do you guys hear something? Oh my, it's not summer! We're kicking off NATLAN with the hottest party on Twitch, the endless NATLAN Summer. Every 50 subs equals a full 6-hour stream the next day, all patch long, with a few goals along the way to make sure the party is never not lit, never dim. Like full resin refilling all patch long, leveling the dual sword to max, oiling up, and we're not gonna talk about the last one, but we've got the surf, the hottest babes, and we're sticking it to the man. Twitch has a little thing called the Partner Plus program, and if you can get in it, they'll give you a 70-30 split on all your subs. And we don't want a grubby corporation to be taking the 40% they're taking right now, do we? You need 300 individual subs for 3 months. So for everybody who subscribes for 3 or 6 months in advance, I'll be ripping a standard pull in your honor. So if you want to support the content in a big way, consider subscribing. But if not, at least come to the biggest party NATLAN has on the entire internet. It's NATLAN Summer, baby. I'll see you there. All right, gamers, let's get this over with the other healer on standard banner, okay? It's Chi-Chi, one of the most memed characters in all of Genshin.
I pulled a Chi-Chi.
Chi-Chi is one of the most memed characters in the game for a reason. She's really not that strong, okay? Can you make her work? Yes, she can heal your team, okay? She can provide a little bit of utility with her cryo and stuff. Great, cool. But I'm gonna just keep it honest. I don't recommend picking Chi-Chi unless she's like your favorite character, you think she's adorable, whatever. She's really not that good. Next is Diluc, who used to be one of the best DPS characters in the entire game, baby. And then we hit 1.1. But Diluc is still decent, okay? It's a strong word, but he's pretty darn mid. The thing is he is a pure DPS's DPS. He is the star of the show. He sits on the field. He does a bunch of pyro damage, right? So like he is going to be the carry. And just honestly, his damage multipliers and all that kind of stuff just don't really stand up to many of the pretty much every DPS that Genshin's ever released since him, but you can absolutely make him work. He's not unbelievably weak, and he does have one extremely strong team with a certain partner that we will talk about in the team section. Oh yeah, there's another Pyro Claymore 5-star on the standard banner. It's Dia, and I am a Dia lover, okay? I pulled for her on her original banner. She's one of my favorite characters, but I don't beat around the bush. I don't lie to you guys. She is not very good. She is one of the weakest characters in the entire game. If you build her support is pretty mediocre. You build her DPS is really mediocre, but she does have one actually strong, good utility build with Burgeon, which is a reaction with Dendro, where she can actually do a lot of damage for the team. But overall, I don't recommend picking Dia unless you really like her. She is, unfortunately, notoriously, one of the weakest characters in the game. And finally, we've got Mona. Oh, wait a second. And finally, we've got Mona. Mona is a very niche Hydro support character. She is known for her screenshot capabilities. Her burst has a very unique effect that like puts an omen on the opponents, and then everyone hit by that takes increased damage. So she's used for a lot of those like clickbait, super high number screenshots, which is very fun. But in the everyday use of Mona on like competitive Abyss teams, she's really not that great. You can use her on some freeze teams with certain characters. She can be pretty good, but she's not always the best option. I do feel like you kind of have to force yourself to use Mona because there's always a better option. But hey, her exploration super fun. Going over water and stuff is like an extremely useful and fun thing to have in the overworld. But Mona is fine, but she's not like super good. Now we are going to go over all of the key and best constellations for all of the standard banner characters, because maybe you're approaching one of these constellations and it'll really make them pop off. Or I'm gonna just say it like this. You know, you pick Tighnari's C2, you are one step closer to his C6, and that is a good investment. So let's get into it. Tighnari's C1, 2, 4, and 6 are all extremely good constellations for him because they raise his ability to do big damage. C1 is crit, C2 is Dendro damage, C4 is Element of Mastery for him in the team, and then C6 is absolutely godlike, okay? I don't think any of these are like so cracked that if you're at, you know, C3, you gotta choose a C4, but it does get you closer to his C6. And hey, if you like Tighnari, you use him a lot, he's one of your best DPS characters, bro, I would pick up this C6. It is extremely good. Tighnari's constellations are built different compared to the rest of the standard cast, so let's keep our expectations a little bit low going forward. Next up is Keqing, and I use Keqing a lot. I think she is extremely good, like I said, but I will be honest with y'all, her constellations are all pretty freaking weak, man. Okay, even her C6. This is, you gotta get 7 Keqings, man. It gives you 24 electro damage bonus. So it's Nothing crazy is going on in these constellations. If you do really like her, you want to get her to that C6 eventually, go for it. But I will say none of Kaching's constellations are absolutely insane. Now, Jean, being the support queen that she is, has two very good constellations. One is better than the other. It's actually extremely good. But first, let's talk about her C2, okay? It boosts up the team's movement speed and attack speed. Now, not every DPS in the game is going to benefit from the attack speed. And the movement speed is cool, but it's not something you have to have. It's a pretty good constellation, quite good with Wanderer, who does attack, right, as an animal character. But let's get into the big one. This is, in my opinion, one of the best standard banner constellations in the game. I genuinely mean that. Jean C4 lowers animo res of opponents hit by her burst by 40%. Why do I think this is so strong? Animo characters in Genshin have a hard time buffing up their damage and especially shredding animo resistance, okay? Every other element, Pyro, Cryo, Electro, they use Viridescent Venerer, the animo set on animo supports, to help boost up their damage, among other things. There is no Viridescent Venerer equivalent for animo. The options for animo characters to buff up their damage is limited. So this is one of the best cons in the game for your Xiao, for your Wanderer, even for your Hazo, your C6 Lynette, if you're a cat girl guy, okay? This constellation, super good. If you love any of those characters that I just named and you throw Jean on those teams, this constellation is super good. You might want to get it. All right, look, guys, I'm not going to make up some stuff about Chi-Chi. I think all her constellations are really not great, but her C6 is great for heckin' memeing, dude, okay? It revives the whole team, but this is never really going to be useful. It's kind of just for fun. Maybe if you're like, you know, having some trouble with exploration but you want to mess with your friends in co-op. Yeah, this is a meme. I don't think you should pull Chi-Chi cons. Next, we've got Diluc, and similar to Kaching, I don't think any of his cons are like absolutely insane buffs to his DPS. His C4 and his C6 are going to help his like traditional vape damage dealing build quite a bit. They are like pretty decent constellations, but like I said, there's one specific team that really makes Diluc pop off, and I'm gonna be honest, these constellations don't super help that. So I don't think these are crazy important to get, but C4 and C6, if you're a Diluc main, might be for you. Last, we've got Mona. And if you are a Mona connoisseur, a Mona user, then there are two cons in here that are actually pretty darn good. Her C3 boosts her burst talent level by 3, which is the Omen, which is the damage amplification. So if you love those screenshots, all that good stuff, this constellation is very good. And then her C4, it's nothing crazy, but opponents marked by the Omen, your team has 15% crit rate when attacking them. So boosted stats, crit rate is great. It's not anything cracked, but these are pretty darn good if you do like Mona and you use her a lot. So finally, I want to go over all of the standard banner characters' best like meta teams and their most popular teammates on those teams, okay? Tighnari, like I talked about, spread, aggravate, all that good stuff mixed with Electro, Fischl and Yaimiko are absolutely goated for him because Tighnari is charge attacking. He's not normal attacking like an effect like Beto would need you to do. Tighnari needs characters that are just gonna hit Electro for him off field while he's charge attacking. And those are Fischl and Yaimiko. They're absolutely cracked. They're both super high damage characters. Tighnari's doing damage. Fischl and Yaimiko are doing damage. It's great. And then I have Farina on there because Farina is a damage amplifier. Awesome. But she is a Hydro character that applies Hydro, not based off of normal attacks. Xingqiu and Yelan need your character to swing, to do normal attacks. Tighnari's not gonna be doing that. He's gonna be charge attacking. So you can actually run Hyper Bloom teams with Tighnari, with Farina. So he's charge attacking, doing a bunch of damage. Farina's applying Hydro, doing damage. And then you've got an Electro character that's gonna do more damage, hit those seeds. It's extremely good, really unlocks another team playstyle for Tighnari. I think that these three characters encapsulate some of his best teammates. Next for Kaching, just like Tighnari, Dendro, Electro, broken, and so I put Nahida because I mean she's the best Dendro applicator in the entire game, right? But you could use any Dendro character here, really. I'm talking Kale, Baizu, Yao Yao, they will all do great boosting up Kaching and making her do aggravate damage. Then I have Fischl, who is an off-field electro damage character, just like Yaimiko, you can use her as well. I just ran out of team slots, okay? They will give electro resonance, they'll be doing a bunch of, you know, electro damage, doing aggravates as well, off field, while Kaching can be the one on field popping off. And then I've got Chevreuse, one of the GOATs of Fontaine, okay? You can only use her with Pyro and Electro characters to get the max out of her, but she pretty much just makes overload and, you know, Pyro Electro damage start popping off. So you can run Kaching with Chevreuse, maybe with Bennett, and then like Fischl, and you are going to be absolutely gaming. I think that these three kind of encapsulate her best teams. And yeah, Kaching can run Hyper Bloom too with like Xingqiu, Yelan, and Dendro characters, stuff like that. All great teams for Kaching and all great teammates. Now, Jean is a support character, so she's going to be supporting certain team members like Farina. If you don't know how Farina works, okay, she eats away at your team's HP, but then if you heal your team, it gains a bunch of fanfare stacks, gives the team a huge damage bonus. And so Jean and Farina are absolutely fantastic together because Jean will give you all those stacks instantly. You need healers on Farina teams, and Jean pops off on that, okay? And then, just like I talked about with her C4, she is absolutely godlike with Animo DPSs like Xiao, like Wander, like Hazel, okay? Even without that C4 though, Jean is great for Xiao because it activates Animo Resonance, and then Jean generates a lot of energy particles. You hit them with Jean's skill, all the particles fly into the air, then switch to Xiao so that Xiao can pick up all those particles, get his burst off, and then start popping off. And then I have Bennett on here because there's a very popular team comp called Sun, Fire, Jean. It is Bennett's burst, puts Pyro onto your character. Jean's burst swirls Pyro off of yourself, and it like hits all the enemies around you. It's a pretty cool team comp. It's not anything like crazy broken, but it is fun, and it does work in tandem with other, you know, elemental teams that might be good, like vaporized teams with Xiangling. You could have Jean, you could have Bennett. It's pretty good, but I just threw it on there kind of as a meme. Best teammates, Farina and Animo DPS. Brother, Chi-Chi, man. So Chi-Chi is a cryo healer. That's what she does best. So you could use her as your healer on those Farina teams. If you play Chi-Chi well and you even have a couple constellations, you could heal the entire team enough to, you know, make Farina and her teammates pop off, right? And then I have Raiden Shogun to show off Hyper Fridge, okay? It is Hyper Bloom with a cryo character in the final slot. Chi-Chi can be that character, and she can be on field, swinging her sword, whatever, because you pretty much will occasionally freeze the enemy. It doesn't get in the way of you, you know, creating Hyper Blooms, and the enemy can't hit you while they're frozen. So Chi-Chi could be a Hyper Fridge driver. And then, look, I got Claran. There is this crazy meme team that totally pops off with Chi-Chi and Claran, with Claran on Skyward Blade. And I don't have Skyward Blade, so I can't show you my account doing this, but Chi-Chi works really well for that specific team comp. So, you know, it's great to see Chi-Chi having some teams. Here we go, it's Diluc. It's time to reveal the character that makes Diluc absolutely pop off and gives him an extremely high DPS team, and that is Xiangyun. I don't have Xiangyun. Let's pretend Venti is the sexy lady Xiangyun. Okay, Xiangyun, very interesting support character that lets your team jump up into the air and plunge down on command. And Diluc, for some reason, has an insanely high plunge damage multiplier, higher than anyone in the entire game. So Diluc plunge attacking goes crazy, but it is especially effective with Bennett's C6 because it infuses him with Pyro permanently. Otherwise, Diluc has to infuse himself with his burst. But either way, plunge attack Diluc goes absolutely crazy. It is his best team by far. And if you have Farina on there too, Farina, Xiangyun, Diluc goes insane. I have Xingqiu here as his kind of, you know, go-to standard vaporized partner to help him vaporize the hits of his skill and his normals. Could be Yelan. And then Chevreuse, any Pyro character, Chevreuse, Diluc, 2 Electros, you're gonna have a good time. Finally, we have Mona, and unfortunately, Mona does kind of struggle to make it onto some of the best teams. Like I said, there's usually a better character, but we have Ayaka here to represent freeze teams, okay? Ayaka, Ganyu, which is his old team called Morgana, which is still really good. Check it out. And then Risley. They can all use Mona on their freeze team to pretty decent effect. Then I said any character that wants a big screenshot. So I put Eula there, okay? Eula is the queen of screenshots. Mona will help amplify that with her Omen. And then why is Raiden on here? You could use Mona on some Hyper Bloom teams, okay? Mona will be on field, you know, throwing water at them, applying Hydro while you have an off-field Dendro and Raiden, an off-field Electro, you know, creating those seeds and then hitting them. So unfortunately, Mona's a little bit strapped for teams. She doesn't have any teams that make her absolutely cracked, but there are options out there. Go forth and conquer. Homies, there we go. I wanted to throw my hat in the ring on this standard banner selector fun that we are getting. I know a lot of people like to hear my opinion on things, and I am honored. I appreciate that, and I hope that I helped you choose the right pick or just helped, teach you something about Genshin, man, because I love this gosh darn game, okay? Even though it's, plays with our emotions sometimes, but I'm a diehard and I'm here for you, okay? Drop a sub. We're on our way to 100K subs. It would mean the absolute world to me. Come check out the stream. Like I talked about, baby, Nat Summer is gonna get crazy on Twitch. There's never been a better time to come follow the stream, baby. And huge shout outs to the patrons. I appreciate y'all. I love hanging out with you guys in the Patreon. Thank you guys for your support. And homies, I will see you guys in NATLAN. I'm going to be cooking up so much fun content during NATLAN, so you gotta sub, all right? I'll see you later. Bye, guys.